of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next item is the approval of the final agenda. Is there a motion to approve the final agenda?
I'll move to approve the final agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any objection? The motion carries unanimously. The next item is public comment. Madam Clerk.
Bill Winter.
Bill Winter, resident for 17 years. I've been coming here to the council meetings for 17 years at different times. I presented a lot of stuff of interest for the beach. So far, it's been negative. A lot of council members over the years agree with what I have to say. It takes 5 of you to vote on it. So here we go again. This is a year ago. I was here. I left envelopes in your boxes twice. One with the listings for the beach, and one was to have a meeting with each of you. One member had a meeting with me. But that's very negative. No response. All right. I had a meeting with retired Captain Matt Powell and the new Captain Matt Hergerick on Estero Boulevard. A new project at the Times Square will be help with traffic. The traffic going northbound needs help. Myself and both captains agree. First, 2 traffic lights. One at Crescent Street, one down below Hooters, some in that area. Also, the crosswalks should be blinking. Up here, it's very dark. Down the other end, there's more people cross over here than they do down the other end. You should be blinking when somebody wants to cross over. That hasn't happened. If each crosswalk is put on time control over 1 minute to cross over, 5 minutes for traffic, 5 minutes for traffic to move each way. I have a thing on the crossover says walk, don't walk, like they do in a lot of different congested areas over the United States. Deputies would handle it, full-time deputies would handle it with citations if you crosswalk, if you don't cross over at the crosswalks. Previous mayors and council members have liked the idea. Time goes on. Maybe in the next decade, maybe it will happen. Each crossover should have a box, like I said, walk or don't walk. Now, here's a comment. Margaritaville is in Key West, not here. The project should be called Modernized Development of Fort Myers Beach, not Margaritaville. That's in Key West. There was 2 surveys in the state of Florida, and Fort Myers Beach was not in the top 10 beaches. Some of the reasons are traffic problems, pets on the beach, which is a nuisance and unsanitary. North end of the beach was deleted with pets. There's a dog beach where you can take your pet. You'll find on your computer why we're not allowed in, around the perimeter of Florida. Also, we need restrooms down to the last access. Keeps being overlooked for years. Now, this is a real something. Debris, recyclable, and garbage pickups. When recyclable containers came to the island, there was a description of when to put them on, out, and remove. Now the island looks like the slums or after a hurricane. every day of the week, stuff put out. Garbage picked up on a Thursday, people put out on Friday for next week. That's not right. It's not enforced. Something should be done about it. Everybody should get a listings on the beach. I suggested the utilities bills. Everybody gets a utility bill. You had something in there with that listings I gave you last year, or you could make it better, or you could eliminate stuff. And then that way, there'd be no problem giving people citations, and abusing it. Okay, let's see. Sidewalks. 5 years ago have gone by and nothing has been done allowed on sidewalks, what is allowed on the sidewalks. I know that's a county problem, and we got to fight it. There's nothing in the concrete and no signs. So what goes on the sidewalks, how can you arrest anybody? All I could do is tell them get off. And the captain told me he cannot tell people to get off because he's locked in the traffic. So I suggest full time 2 bicycle deputies going down the sidewalk between maybe Hooters and Times Square, trying to keep people off of there that's not supposed to be on there. Yes, let's see, people come and go. People come and go on the island, renters part-time and full-time. There's no communication, like I say, on everybody on the island.
Mr. Winter, I'm going to have to ask you to wrap it up here, if you would, please.
I hear you.
Could you wrap it up, please? Wrap it up. We're gonna move on.
3 minutes is
Your time has expired. Well, you're well over your time. I let you continue, but you're going to have to wrap it up now. Do your close. Make a closing statement.
Okay, one more thing.
Okay.
For those who are supposed to work there 4 to 8 shift, overlooked by the town council, $50 an hour at the concrete media, the donation. We're not there for 4 hours. You leave, go sit in a car, an hour and a half. I've been through there. Everybody in this room's probably been through there. You're paying $30,000 a year, $50 an hour, $60 on a holiday. I've been there on a Saturday in March. There was nobody there Saturday evening whatsoever, and everybody walking across, bumper to bumper. I don't think the job's being done correctly. They should be up on the bridge where they're backed up on the trolley and bicycle lane. Traffic, nothing's being done about it, not enforced. They should take the signs down, then let it be. That's not happening. Okay. It is, let's see, April, May, June, July, half of August, November, December. Traffic is backed up, bumper to bumper, both at the traffic light with no problem. Taxpayers lost. And also one thing about the cameras. You should have one of the cameras should be beamed on the concrete media. That way you'll know, sure, you got it locked in what you're paying for. Taxpayers lost. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Next.
Ronald Usenza.
Morning. My name is Ron Usenza. I live in Cape Coral. I'm starting a Segway touring company. I'm sure you're all familiar with what Segways are. And I've done a lot of research in the state of Florida, and they're typically operated in bigger cities like Miami, Tampa. They're all over Florida, and they all have access to the beach, so they call them beach tours. My request here today is I looked carefully at the rules, and it does say specifically no Segways on the beach. However, they're a mobility device, and they're no wider than a mobility chair. And I think they'd be a great attraction for the town. I'm going to do it right. I have a lot of experience. I've been in the motorcycle business all my life, BMW and Triumph. All I'm asking for, there's one access to the beach by Miramar Street, the beach bar, and there's the pathway. I've personally been on that with my Segway, and I did talk to the police. They said, nope, you can go anywhere you can want to go because it's a mobility device as a single person. I'm coming to ask permission because I don't want forgiveness. I want permission to get on to have that access to that one area by the beach bar. And the reason why I chose that area is because the beach is not very nice. It's kind of like, it's no place where people would ever be. They would be maybe closer to the water, but even there's not many people there. It seemed to be from the Lani Kai up. There was nobody there, it seems. And I would like to have just to take the people onto the beach because we are in Fort Myers Beach. They're coming here to get on the Segway, to take a tour of the town, and then just have a little bit access to the beach because that's the high point. And they go around and we come back and we go off. I'm not asking to go around the whole beach and go everywhere. But that's a nice little area. So if there's somebody in the town that I could work with to explain exactly what I'm trying to accomplish, that would be great.
Thank you, sir. You can contact the staff, the manager's office, and he'll put you in the right direction where to go to make application.
Okay. Excellent. Does it matter that I wouldn't be starting from Fort Myers Beach?
You know what? They've got an application with all that information in there,
Perfect.
and I don't think we need to go back and forth with that today. So you'll be able to hash it out with them.
So we'll go in here and ask for that?
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Madam Clerk,
Steve Johnson.
Steve Johnson.
Morning, my name is Steve Johnson, resident of Fort Myers Beach, Mayor, Vice Mayor, councilors. Today I'm here to speak about the lighting plans for Bayside Park as well as Times Square, really in the whole old San Carlos corridor there. I know it came up at the last meeting, but I think it was a little bit of a disjointed conversation, and I had wanted to bring some issues up. First of all, we have a municipal lighting ordinance, and the plan that has been proposed is completely non-compliant with regards to total luminance levels, whereas we have with the 3K lighting, it's 8 times the luminance levels allowed, and even with the amber, it's 4 times. Not only that, but the type of lights that are being used and the lumen levels are non-compliant. As well as it's very explicit in the ordinance that there's no uplighting allowed, and really the majority of that Bayside Park right now and future Times Square is going to be uplighting, which means lighting that's placed in the ground and straight up. You know, the purpose of the Division 20 lighting standard is to curtail and reverse the degradation of the nighttime visual environment by minimizing light pollution, glare, and light trespass through regulation of the form and use of outdoor lighting. So my understanding is it's possible, I think an LDO has already been issued for this, which is just a little bit mind-blowing because it's completely not compliant. So the town is issuing itself, I think, an LDO based on the plans that were submitted. Second item is really safety. You know, safety is a huge concern for everybody. Uplights are just not safe. That's why they're not in any type of lighting ordinances. They produce glare, which is the #1 problem really with uplights. And not only that, but the whole plan hasn't been really integrated. The subcontra that did the lighting told us that they had no idea that the rest of the island would be amber. So for instance, that the Crescent in St. Carlos, or I should say the St. Carlos 5th Street lighting project, that's going to be amber 24, you know, it's going to be amber all year long. If you're going to have potentially dual lights or white lights in Times Square, you're going to be walking from one color to another color at the busiest intersection in our entire island and into another light color for half the year. It just doesn't seem to make sense, as well as drivers will be driving in from one color into another. It certainly does, makes no sense, and be a possibility why it was not integrated. It's also right now, from what we understand, although it hasn't been put in writing, is that these accent lights are going to be turned off half the year in observance of the turtle season. That's not really a good solution for the town. I mean, it's only a half-year solution. What are we going to do for the rest of the year? Just single lighting. I mean, the idea there is to make something unique for the downtown merchants, which is extremely important for our island. And there needs to be really a better plan. you know, with the ever-growing intensity we have, I just think it's a terrible fit, you know, especially the white lights, even for half the season, it's just passé. Our new tourists, our brand here is really turning toward ecotourism. All the new generations are eco-minded. What's our value proposition really to our tourists? And I think it really needs to be reviewed again, prior to passing those light plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Anyone else, Amy?
That's all I have signed up.
Is there anyone here that wishes to speak? No? Okay. Well,
Mayor, want to speak?
well, Madam, you're here for.
Yeah, the,
Walk on.
yes, so, I'll just mention it now since it's been brought up that, we've been approached by, business community to, allow Times Square to have open container during the New Year's Eve celebration. Typically, when it's the 4th of July and it's our fireworks show, we incorporate all of that in our permit. But it's not really our request, really, it's the merchant's request. So I was gonna mention it at, the town council items and see if the council would authorize us to allow the businesses to, have open container in Times Square on New Year's Eve.
Uh,
So I would just speak as why, and we'll handle it afterwards, I guess.
Morning, my name's Tom Houghton. I'm the owner of La Ola Surfside Restaurant located in Times Square. And it came to my attention last week sometime, John Lalo or Steve Black usually done this in the past. One of them requests in. So basically, on the form here, it says that there is a waiver of open container ordinance or rules. So we're requesting that only on November 31st, 12 p.m. to 1 a.m. That's only been done for all the years I've been here anyway, exception of maybe during.
You're right, it has. Okay.
Right.
All right, thank you. Okay, we'll bring that up again during your, you know, if you have something to do, you don't have to stick around, no.
You can leave that with Patty and we'll.
You're welcome. Anyone else, public comment? Okay, we'll close public comment and we'll move on to local achievements and recognitions. And Allers, we'll start with you on the end there.
Yeah, I'd like to say that Folks raised 17,000 for their Beach and Brew event, which is going to go to good cause with the all the things that they do down there, and congratulate the chamber on their largest boat parade far. It was a great event on Saturday.
Nothing?
If you'll indulge me a little update on the clean water efforts at the state level. Since our last council meeting, Governor DeSantis visited Maples and Miami to announce his environmental budget proposals for the upcoming legislative session. They include over $960 million for Everglades restoration and the protection of water resources. Proposed $960 million investment will bring the total 4-year investment for the Everglades restoration project protection of water resources to over $3 billion, more than doubling investments from the previous 4 years, surpassing Governor DeSantis's goal of $2.5 billion over 4 years. So we need to keep those cards and letters coming to our state legislators, but also to our federal members of Congress and U.S. senators, because there's also federal matching dollars involved as well. But this is a significant funding commitment by the state of Florida to this issue, and it has direct repercussions. And I'll just add, this is from Wink News, and you'll see how it affects Western Florida eventually. But a new reservoir opened in east of Lake Okeechobee. The new reservoir is officially open on the east side of Lake Okeechobee. This is about half the size of the city of Naples. New reservoir could also be seen as a blueprint for cleaner waterways in what is being called a monumental day for Florida's environment and water quality. With the cutting of the ribbon and the starting of the pumps, the C-44 reservoir is officially open and ready for water. Colonel James Booth is the commander of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers of Jacksonville District. It's a water storage facility that can handle 50,000 acre-feet of water, Booth said. Primarily focused on local runoff for the C-44 canal of St. Lucia Canal area, but we do have the capability to bring water off of the canal that does come out of Lake Okeechobee if it's needed, Booth said. Water is pumped in, rushing into the reservoir. Then it will travel to the stormwater treatment for cleaning. It will also revitalize the habitat of the Indian River Lagoon by balancing the fresh water of the lagoon and St. Lucia estuary. It is also set to improve water quality. And we're reducing the amount of phosphorus and nitrogen that's in the water. It certainly reduces the chances of having those algae blooms, Booth said. Here's the part that's most relevant to us. Florida's West Coast is no stranger to water quality issues. That is why Chauncey Goss of the South Florida Water Management District Governing Board looks forward to the C-43 reservoir for Southwest Florida, which we've talked quite a bit about. And that's where a lot of these resources that we've been talking about will go to. Quote, we're going to be taking water and we're going to be pulling it off the river and we're going to be storing it. And then we're going to be cleaning it, Goss said. And then we're going to be putting it back into the river. And that's exactly what we want to do to try to be able to deal with some of these discharges. The project will be one piece in moving water where it's needed and keeping it away from where it shouldn't be. C-43 reservoir to the west of Lake Okeechobee will catch wet season flows from the lake and local runoff. And it is expected to be completed in 2023. That's what we don't often hear about, is that some of these massive projects where this $3 billion plus federal funds is going to these massive reservoirs, but the work product is getting closer and closer, particularly as it comes to Western Florida, and that's 2023. So we've got to keep the pressure on. I think it's an election year for the state legislatures as well as the federal legislators. So I think certainly it'll be a little easier to get those dollars this year, but that commitment is serious. And it's already bearing fruit. So I just wanted to give an update on that, Mr. Mayor, and that's all I've got. Thank you.
Good.
Once again, it's pretty tough to be in the last of
You're not
doing this,
last.
but I would reiterate what other people have said, but also now this is our last meeting of the regular council meeting of the year, and there's a lot of events coming up that people probably should be aware of, like the Christmas tree, chili cook-off. This is kind of the time of the year, and we have a lot of things going on. So I encourage people to check the calendar because there's a lot of really fun and useful events coming up.
Good. Just to follow up with yours, Jim, I've been out to the construction project, and these are massive projects. They're massive, and they're going to be a major help. And now they're talking again about storage above the lake as well. River coming down, and that's going to be even better. So there are better days ahead for our watershed, no doubt about it. And anyone that's here now that's been out on the water, it's just absolutely beautiful right now. The back bay, I can see down 15 feet, and I can probably see 100 feet out. It's just it's incredible. So hopefully that'll stay as it is for a while, and we'll be able to enjoy that and keep up the good work. But that was a great report. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item is the advisory committees, and Sherry Smith is here to give us a report today from CellCab.
Well, good morning, Council.
Morning.
Nice to be here. I'm Sherry Smith, and I'm Vice Chair of the CellCab Committee and Board, I should say, and also docent at the Mount House. So I spend a lot of time there. In December, we are really cranking things up, and we're getting back into the seasonal type programs and everything. Let's see, on first and second Tuesday of this month, we want to welcome back the Calusa Carvers, and they're going to be at the Mound House, and the carvers sit there and they carve a lot of the replicas and artifacts of the Calusa, and it's a very popular program. So they're going to be starting coming back in this month in December. We also have our lecture series that is beginning. And we are starting this month with Pat McEwen. And I don't know if you're familiar with Pat, but he wrote our Mound House book. He is going to be speaking, and that'll be at 6 o'clock on the 14th at the Mound House. And that one, excuse me, I shouldn't say that'll be at 6 o'clock, and that one's by Zoom. And then in January, we're going to be having our all of our presentations and lectures in person. One thing that has become extremely popular, and we're really, really proud of it, the Mound House, are our kayak trips. Kayaks, we have 2 new members, Bobby and Adam, and they're excellent, excellent tour guides. And they've got the kayak trips are always full in the morning. And the one that is particularly popular is the Sunset Cruise, which will be on December 17th. You do need reservations for the kayaks. Let's see, we are volunteers. Our volunteers are coming back. Thank goodness. For those of us that have been working all summer, we're really happy to see people coming back. And the staff has been great, and they are having a volunteer breakfast for us. And then we also have a volunteer appreciation evening, December 15th. Attendance has been very good, very steady. The week right before Thanksgiving on Wednesday and Thursday, we had over 50 people each day. So we're really, really pleased about that. And then also in our gift shop, our museum gift shop, we had for Small Business Saturday, we had 20% off, and it was very lucrative. Let me just say that. A lot of Christmas shopping was done. Also, now I hope I can explain this properly. The Mound House has given our museum 4 3D artifact prints. These artifacts, these are prints of artifacts found over on Mound Key. And as you know, they've been doing a lot of digging over on Mound Key, and Mound Key is a very important site. Mound Key is connected with our museum. We are reaching out, and we're trying to strengthen our relationships and work in collaboration with 4 of the major tribes in the United States. And so far we have gotten, Allison has been doing an excellent job on this. And we have gotten some feedback from the Oklahoma Seminoles and I believe the Muskogees. So we're really, really quite excited about that. Newton Beach, that's also under our provision. And the beach walks have started, and they're at 9 a.m. on Tuesday. And any of you that know Gail Pergoli know she is in charge of those. They certainly are interesting and fun, very well attended also. Our council advisor, you might want to, I think Dan has brought this up, Mr. Adderholt, but he has suggested at the mountain or at the Newton Beach property where we have the bocce ball courts, we may consider, or we were thinking we might get more use out of a real, it's kind of a futuristic looking swing set that would be, people could sit and relax and look out at the ocean. And the board is very much in favor of that because our bocce ball courts just don't get used. And we are working along too with other groups. And you mentioned the Christmas Tree Festival, and I've spent about the last week looking at Christmas tree bulbs and decorating a Christmas tree for the Mound House to work with the Women's Club. And I would remiss if I didn't mention that we have a new member on the CellCap board, Ellen Vaughn. And we keep working on our strategic plan and bringing that up to date and with Newton. Any questions?
I have a question for you, Sherry.
Oh,
It's a simple one. How's our friend, your volunteer, Seal Spuler, doing?
as far as I know, she is still in like a rehab
Yes.
area. And I understand she was not to have any visitors or anything for about 10 days.
Yeah, I tried to, and they said no, so that's fine, but good. Bill
And-
Spuler had a little health setback and,
Yes, yes, and we're all
recuperating
very,
and-
very, very upset about
so
it.
she's in our
Wish her-
thoughts and prayers. So
Yes,
we'll-
she sure is. We wish her the very best.
any other questions for Sherry?
I just like to comment that, I know that I've helped out with your kayak tours, and if anybody wants to go kayaking, if you've never been kayaking, if you don't want to deal with hauling your kayaks or buying kayaks or that kind of stuff, it's a great thing. You never know what you're going to see. Manatees, dolphins, birds, every time is different and a different situation. And plus having a naturalist there and explain to you what it is you're seeing is a really, and knows where to go is a really great value. That's something I'd recommend anybody. And similarly, if you're around and you want to really know what all those things are on the beach, go join one of the beach walks with Gail. She's very informative and entertaining, and they love being stumped. So
Yes.
it's a very entertaining walk, and of just two of the really great programs you guys are doing out there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's a very, very popular program. And also Bobby was saying that when he was out last week on the, one of the kayak tours, they had manatees, dolphins, and people were just enthralled. So everything's coming along great. We're very proud of it.
A lot easier to see with that clear water.
Yes, yes, isn't that nice? It's
Sherry, that was a
big.
terrific report. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Come back again.
Oh,
All right. Okay, no other committees, correct? Okay. We'll move on to the approval of the minutes for the November 15th, 2021 Town Council meeting. Is there a motion to approve, or is there any discussion about those minutes?
I'll to make a motion to approve the minutes from November 15th, 2021.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Objection? The motion carries unanimously. Next item is we have one item on the consent agenda. So we can either approve the consent agenda, or I can read what it is. I'll read it. It's a utility easement with Charlie's Boathouse, and this is to authorize the town manager to execute a utility easement agreement for a new outfall between Charlie's Boathouse and the town of Fort Myers Beach. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any objection? The motion carries unanimously. Okay, the next item we're going to go into is a public hearing. This is for variance 2021-0073-6036-38 Boulevard Pool Setback. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach. They're approving or denying variance 2021-10066 to allow an accessory structure, pool, in front of the principal structure and within the street setback for the property located at 6036 and 6038 Sparrow Boulevard, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
under normal circumstances, I would inform everyone that this is quasi-judicial in nature, swear in the witnesses, and have you all disclose any ex parte communications that you may have had. However, I've also informed you in the past that it is the applicant's responsibility to prove compliance with the criteria in the code for either the granting or denying any matter that's quasi-judicial nature. Unfortunately, the applicant's not here. They were notified. This has been properly noticed to be before you. So at this point in time, it would be my suggestion that this matter be continued to an indefinite period of time. It'll be renoticed and re-advertised at the expense of the applicant. And we'll inform the applicant again that when it gets, rescheduled, that it is the applicant's responsibility to be here and to make a presentation to you all, and hopefully, or maybe not, persuade you all that a variance is appropriate.
Okay, is there a motion to approve,
Move to
Continue.
continue the matter to an indefinite date.
Second.
been moved and seconded? Discussion? Objection? Okay, move on to the administrative agenda. And we have, first item is resolution 21-64, STA number 17. That's the CEI and Construction Administration downtown sidewalks. This is to adopt resolution 2164, approving supplemental task authorization number 17 with Tetra Tech Inc. for construction inspection services and construction administration for the downtown sidewalks projects in the amount not to exceed $73,640 and authorizing the town manager to execute the contract documents. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
I'd move to adopt resolution 2164.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I just want to make one note is I was reading through what this inspection entails, and I'm going to bring it up during the town council items, is that I don't see any kind of, and I've talked to the town manager about this, any kind of lighting plan that involves the downtown area, where we bring everything into some kind of consistency. So I'm going to bring that up later, just as a note.
Okay. Any further discussion? Any objection? Motion carries unanimously. The other item, the Lee County Sheriff's Office extra duty boat detail. This is to approve Lee County Sheriff's Office extra duty boat detail contract for fiscal year 2021, 2022, the amount of $50,000. This is to authorize the town manager to execute contract documents as approved in fiscal year 2022 budget. And this is a matching. We have to get the grant for $25,000, we have to kick in $25,000. So is there a motion to approve this, authorize the town manager to execute these documents?
Move to approve.
Been moved, seconded. Any discussion?
Just could, oh,
Sir.
I was just going to ask the town manager, just to give us a little history on this. Is this something that happens every year, or is this a new thing, or what? Could you give us a little background on it?
Sure. This grant, when this grant became eligible, there was a way for us to work collaboratively with the Lee County Sheriff's Office to increase our patrol of our mooring field and basically the back bay for all intents and purposes. This has been in place at least at least 4 years that I've been town manager, and I believe before that. And we believe that it helps us deal with motor safety issues, and as well as their presence helps us protect the environment by ensuring that people and obey our pump out system and don't do illicit discharges.
It's helpful. Thank you.
Those are just two things that I'd like to make sure, and I know that we're limited to how much we can direct law enforcement, but two complaints that I get pretty regularly about the back bay is just that there are boats out there that people think are not pumping out, that are not worthy, if you will. They're not mobile enough to go get pump out services. And the other is I hear that in the early morning with some of the fishermen who are going out like pre-dawn to fast through manatee zones and all that. So, I mean, those are a couple things that I really like, that I get a lot of complaints about, that I'd like the sheriff look into too for this.
Well, I think we should pass that on to the sheriff then.
Yeah, well, we will. I know that Captain Layler and his team, monitor our meetings, but we'll be sure to pass the word on to them. But they're well aware of the challenges that we face, and they've been very collaborative with us in our marine operation in the mooring field to assist us. And, one of the things, sort of long-term type of strategy, is that for municipalities such as ourselves who have mooring fields, that we can manage the anchorage in and outside of our mooring field within our jurisdiction, so that people just can't, they come and drop anchor, but they have to do it through our offices in a place where we want them to be. We know that they're there, so that we can monitor their activities, versus if you're not in a mooring field, you can pretty much go anywhere you want in the back bay and do what you want unsupervised. So that's a long range part of our strategy, to try to basically encompass the back bay as the entire thing is a managed mooring field, combined with our mooring balls and places where people can actually anchor and not disturb the sea bottom, et cetera. So this is just one step in that process.
But do you run into because I understand that some of the maritime law pretty well entrenched, when ships are underway and what they can do. I mean, is that something we run into?
Well, it'll be required of us to get FWC approval. And I know they've been looking at this issue, because what they've come to realize, if you have a mooring system where, I don't know, it's $25 a day to rent, and it's managed and controlled and it's good for the environment, but yet someone can go yards away and drop their anchor. It's sort of self-defeating in a way. So they're looking at this managed mooring field concept because they understand that A, have to try to encourage people to use the mooring poles, and B, people who are not using the mooring poles may not be following all the best practices.
Charger.
Any other discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, the next item is final public comment. Anyone that wishes to speak? The crack? No? Okay. All right, we'll move on. Town managers items.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'll begin with item that was mentioned in the first citizen comment issue, and that is that open container, as in the past, someone representing the merchants from Times Square have appeared and submitted paperwork to request that we have open container during the time following. It basically follows or begins with the town celebration of its anniversary, and it continues through New Year's Eve till 1 a.m. Done in the past, been typical. I just don't think it's really appropriate for us to be asking for open container without the merchants asking for it. So, whatever reason they hadn't approached us till recently and because this is the one and only meeting we're having before New Year's Eve, just that they sent a representative here to appear, which occurred this morning, and we support the concept. In my conversations with Captain Layler, they like to sort of say, okay, it's easier to keep it contained in one area where they can keep an eye on it. So they're rather be doing that than trying to chase it down up and down the beach. So from their standpoint, I believe they're supportive of the concept, and as I said, it's been long-standing past practice here to allow this.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the waiver of the open container for that time period on New Year's Day and Eve, or Eve and
I'd
Day?
move to approve it, assuming that it's following the same parameters that have been used in the past, and we don't have those in front of us, so I can't.
We'll make sure that those same conditions are in place.
I'd make that motion.
I'll second.
Move and second. Any discussion? Objection? Motion carries unanimously. Else, Roger?
Yes, we finally have all the audio visual equipment here for the installation. So we're looking for a window to get it installed. My understanding from the clerk that it's going to require us to cancel one town council meeting, and it's my understanding from the clerk that best meeting for us to cancel would be the February 22nd meeting, which would allow the contractor from February 14th to March 4th to get the system in. It wouldn't conflict with any of the committees, and it's the contractors are available in terms of their schedule to do the work in that time window. So council has previously approved the council meeting schedule, and I don't foresee any items coming up on February 22nd that couldn't wait for the first meeting in March.
You okay with that?
When is the shrimp festival? March, isn't it? But that, I just don't want to then get caught up where they don't get an application in time and they're running on this meeting.
We'll reach out to them today and let them know to get their paperwork in. The news is that it really doesn't change from year to year, so, just pretty much update the date. So it should be a problem, but we'll work with Lions Club to get that done.
Roger, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but, or Amy, would the advisory committees be also canceled for that week? Because I noticed there's a CellCab meeting on the 24th. How will we be handling the advisory
We
committees?
just have that upstairs.
Okay, so all the advisory committees will still be meeting?
Yeah, that's the only one that we're aware of that.
Okay.
That would be.
And of course, we'll all be around, so if there's anything that can come up on an emergency basis, we could always get
We could have
together.
our emergency meeting and have one item meeting if we need to.
Be here. Okay, great. We look forward to that, and I'm sure everybody else does, getting the new equipment in. Anything else, Roger?
That's it for today,
That's it.
other than, of course, I'll be seeing you all, I'm sure, before the holidays, but wish you all a happy holiday.
On,
Nothing, I was just, wanted to wish each and every one of you and your families a happy holiday season. And be safe.
Much right back at you. Okay, council members' items. Bill, we'll start with you.
Okay, I got a few things. One thing, and it was brought up by the chair, over there, is that I'm concerned about the lighting plans for these projects going in, particularly, Times Square, that I would like to see that, because, you know, the ordinance as I read it says uplights are allowed as long as they're only illuminating, all the light coming from the uplight is illuminating something. When uplight into a tree would not be allowed because the light does go into space. I also find it kind of annoying because they shine up in people's eyes. So I would like to direct the designer to avoid using uplights in the projects that we're working on. I just think they're, I understand that they can make an interesting visual effect. I think that the glare and the and just the fact that they don't conform to our codes is a concern. So that's something I think that, you know, and particularly if you're putting in a lighting plan, there's really only that to be in it to have its benefit during a certain portion of the year. It seems like we're wasting a lot of money and effort into doing something that's not really suitable for where we're trying to put it. Again, not conforming to our code by the letter.
Those uplights, the only one I could see that use them for is for American flags at nighttime. They light those up with the uplights. But there's really no reason to leave, in most cases, an American flag out at night. You know, they can take them down and so forth. I don't even know if they use them anymore for those, but we used to use them uplights for that.
I think by the flag code, that if you want to leave a flag out at night, you have to have it illuminated.
Yes, and that's the way they used to illuminate them, from the uplights. But I'm sure there's other ways to do that as well. So I'm in agreement with what you're proposing and saying.
Mayor and members of council, not to get in the middle of your item and your discussion, but I think, the consultant will be back here to give you the next version of the plans. And that'll be noticed, and there'll be members of the public here, Mr. Johnson and others could be here as well. And we could have a debate with an agenda item and discuss with the consultant what the impacts would be, whether some of the perceived concerns are real concerns, there are answers to those concerns or not. And at that point, if you want to eliminate them, you could do it at that point. And I think that might be a better approach, so that rather than us speculating on what the impacts are, that we actually know what the impacts would be, and whether some of the questions that got raised that are very legitimate, whether they have answers or not.
They're educated.
Roger, I'm comfortable with that plan as well, but I was wondering, is it possible that I want to put Steve on the spot, but he's becoming quite a subject matter expert on this issue. Is there a way that they could sit down and talk with Steve and get his input before they present to us? So maybe we could mitigate some of these challenges even before.
Well, they'll be here to speak to us, and we can make sure that, we involve Steve in one of those conversations if you'd like us to.
I just didn't know if it would be helpful beforehand to have him talk with these folks. Sometimes in our format, it doesn't always allow for people in the audience to participate in a way that's.
Well, typically the consultants, work with the committees to get to a certain point, then they start working with council just to, keep the project on track. But there's no problem with, we'll arrange a conference call or a Zoom meeting or something with Steve. That's the council's direction, to allow for his points and questions to be answered for two reasons. One is they'll know what his are rather than me interpreting them. They'll get them directly from Steve. And that way they can try to allay his concerns. And if they can't, we'll agree to disagree, and we'll bring those points in front of council.
I think that's more than fair. Thank you.
Another idea, I know you probably don't want to go back to a committee and seem like you're starting the process over, but another idea would be just have them present some kind of lighting presentation to Murph.
Well, again, then if we do that, we may have other committees who want to have input. And my concern is that we're at the point where we're going to change something at Times Square. I want to make sure all the merchants are involved and they have an opportunity to opine and be on notice that the subject's being discussed and all that. So I don't know if they really follow the Murph meetings per se, but, so I think the best thing to do is have it here, have that discussion here. And, that way anyone and everyone who's interested could be here and, raise their point of view, whether it's for or against uplighting or other types of lighting systems.
You okay with that, Steve? Steve nodded for the record.
What else, Bill?
Okay, what else? Okay, it came to, I was walking the beach and, I came across an accident where someone with one of those single wheel surfboard things, a woman wearing a helmet was out pretty much cold. Fire department came. I believe she was okay. They didn't even need to go to the emergency room. But it was brought to my attention that I believe our, a motorized vehicle ordinance, John, on the beach, it specifies 2 wheels or more. That's something that we can maybe consider modifying to keep up to date with the latest technology.
It would seem to make sense.
It's certainly within your discretion. It's just, the old slippery slope argument. It's your regulation and your policy to set. If you wish to, reduce or allow, or otherwise not restrict certain types of activities on your beach, that's certainly within your purview.
I think there's consensus, Roger, to put this on a future.
Yeah, I only have one question, if I may. That is, our current motorized vehicle, ordinance, covers, sidewalks and the beach. So do you have any feedback on whether you want, just talking about the beach, or you want to talk about the sidewalks as well? Those,
Yeah, sure.
battery powered,
They scoot along, I would think. My preference
Right.
is both sidewalk and the,
See them enforced though, especially the existing ones already. It's the problem. But,
well, as
that's
part,
a tough one.
as part of that, Mr. Mayor, one of the things you can think about is, when we bring it back is, our current ordinance requires a warning. Doesn't leave it to the discretion of the police officer. They've seen that person before, they know that person, where the regulations or whatever, or they have to give a warning right now is the way it is. So they would have to theoretically catch somebody twice. So as part of this, you can revisit that if you wish, to see if you want to say, leave it to the discretion of the officer to say that, hey, I've been in town for 5 years, that you're not allowed to do this. Your warning, I am, whatever the case may be.
Else, Bill?
yeah. Another thing that Murph has been talking about and they were developing, but we're not, is, possibility that we could require top guards on rental boats, jurisdiction of the island. I did talk with John about this, and there may be some jurisdictional issues about whether it's something we can do or whether it's at a state level. Maybe if we're just making a requirement of the rental agencies on the island. I know that talking to people who are out regularly on the water, they say that rental boats tend to not understand where the seagrass beds are, and not maybe the eye out for manatees and that kind of thing.
With this water clarity coming back, I have a chance to, some of the seagrass to come back as well. And of course, be able to feed the manatees as a result of that. And we should be protecting it. I mean, I see a lot of these people tied up on these areas where they surely shouldn't be, and tear it up, prop dredge the hell out of it. Be interested in pursuing that further, discussing that goes. But bizarre water, 1,000 feet out, all around this island. So, sir.
I believe you all have seen this because it's part of our public information campaign. We basically put out a card for bicycle safety. And we could try to replicate that for voter information, to protect our environment, and those available to the rental companies. And from there, people being given information and being put on notice, and then if you want to go longer and enforcement mechanism. But that's something that we could do, and we could have extra work on that.
One thing what has been done before, and the MRF committee came up with stickers to put on a boat, because anything that's loose can fly out of a boat pretty easily. That
We can make it so it sticks to the boat versus just, you know, a piece.
that's certainly a assignment you can give back to MRF to create something.
Well, we could do that and take a first cut at it, and then we'll clean it up and bring it back to them, and then if they like it, we'll bring it to you all.
I don't think that the cost of this is excessive, but I would agree to look into maybe helping offset some of the costs of the prop cars if that's an issue for the rental companies.
I'm in favor of doing something about the prop guards, but I think if we do that, we might also want to send a letter to the Bonita Council asking them to join us in this effort, because I frequently see rental boats from that area in the bay. And I've seen them violating, it's like the people that are from the Staro Islands. So if we do that, I'd like to at least let them know we're doing it and ask them to join us in our efforts.
And I do think it was like the plastic straw ban that, it's something that we did that had a ripple effect. I was talking to somebody in an event, and their town, this representative recommended the straw ban, and the first question they asked as well, has anybody in Florida done that? And they used our ordinance as a model to create it. So I think even though I'm not sure about some of the jurisdictional issues, this is a potentially pioneering effort that could really help with the manatees in the sea. I agree. And maybe if more of us do it at the same time, maybe it'll work. Maybe it'll attract the attention of Tallahassee, and there'll be one more thing they can preempt.
In a positive for us.
Hopefully, yes, in a positive way.
Yeah.
Good.
And then I have one more thing. That this was when we were talking about a variance for a corner lot recently. In the staff recommendations was for the council to consider looking at the ordinance. Because it's a common thing where someone's on a corner lot where it's a very minor side street, that they get caught up in this. The staff said typically the corner lots were larger just to compensate for the setback requirements. And I did talk with Roger about this. I kind of feel that we can come up with some guidelines that take into consideration particularly small corner lots that are older, that maybe won't require them to come in for variances, but set a rule that is reasonable to follow, instead of what we're doing now where they come in front of town council, and depending on who the town council is and what the situation is, result is somewhat variable. Roger likes the oversight of town council on stuff then. So I'm just putting this out there. I've read the staff recommendations. If there's any interest in the council to look into some kind of review of corner lot setbacks.
Seems to make sense that we look at it.
Bundle?
That's it.
Very good.
Roger, this is really more for just public information. I know the town did a little piece on parking the other day, which was helpful. There's a lot of confusion about these residential permits that people can purchase for $25 from the town. As it says in the application, the residential permits are to be utilized in the following areas only: all metered spaces located on a Staro Island beach accesses, or in the metered areas under Matanzas Pass Bridge. I think you and I had a colloquy the other day publicly about we would also include Town Hall in that, at least while the bridge is under construction, or at least some of those spots are being utilized. Is that still the case?
Yes, sir.
So people can use their residential permits for Town Hall as well during non-business hours. And then, of course, you can't use the residential permits for Newton Park, as well as Old San Carlos Boulevard, Center Street, 5th Street, Estero Boulevard, Lee County properties, Lynn Hall Park, Crescent Beach Family Park, and Bowditch Park are excluded. And the residential permit does not allow you to park in those areas. Just thought, again, I certainly understand why the town needs to utilize that space under the bridge for all the positive things that are going on the island. Do you want to just give people an update on how that that's going under the bridge and how much longer the town will be utilizing that space? Or maybe we've already given up some of it already back to the parking.
Right, there's two sort of parts of the under the bridge, loss of parking issue, I guess, if you want to describe it that way. One part of it is, we actually have our lines running through the parking lot. So there are portions of that parking area that's being disturbed temporarily while we're installing infrastructure. Second piece is, we took an area of about 20 spots for a staging area for the contractor. It's our goal to get him out of there, no later than April, hopefully sooner. Right now, we've granted him use through the end of basically the year. And we'll be visiting where he is, in beginning of 22 to see, because we're trying to just keep that as tight as we can time-wise, so that it doesn't get stretched out and used beyond when it really needs to be used.
I think I understand why we need to use it. I think it's totally appropriate. As some people pay it, as they do their parking, their mental parking strategies, it's good to know and then.
Yeah,
if
we'll
the spots
update,
will
we'll
open up.
update the form to indicate that the town hall parking area can also be used for the parking.
It's great. And at some point when you know concretely, maybe have the PIO do a little update on what the status is under the bridge in terms of additional spots or reopening up again, just so the public can again strategize as to how they want to park
Absolutely.
down there.
Council, and just so you know that, he does a summary of every council meeting. So, to the extent that any of the five of you or I say something that needs to be disseminated to the public, that gets picked up and gets put in that news blast that she does after the council meeting.
I think those are excellent. That's part of the reason why I encourage these types of colloquies, so we can get that out to the public. So that's great. Thank you. That's all I have.
I noticed that Carl's left the room, and if he hears me and wants to come back for this, he may be able to answer a question for me. What I'm bringing up occurred at the last variance presentation and would have occurred at this variance presentation. We're getting diagrams with our variances that have very little information on them. And I was going to bring this up today with this one. We're being asked in this particular one to grant a variance for a pool, yet it doesn't give us the dimensions of the pool. It doesn't give us how far away the pool is from the house. It doesn't give us how much area there is to put this pool between the lanai and the street, and yet asks for a variance which is almost the entire distance. It's nearly 20 feet of 25 feet. And I don't know how we can be deciding whether something is de minimis if staff is accepting these diagrams that have so little information on them. So I guess my question is, I don't think we need to tighten anything up in writing. I think it just needs to be an enforcement thing with staff, that when people turn in a diagram for a variance, that it has more information. Again, specifically, John, I don't know how you can know if something is de minimis if we don't know what area we're looking at. Am I making myself clear?
Sir, yes, ma'am. I understand exactly what you are asking for, and I will make sure. I saw that Mr. Bench did come into the chambers, and I will get together with staff to ensure that moving forward, sufficient information is provided on the sketch.
I don't think we need to change anything in our instructions, because it requires a site plan with a clear illustration, it says. So now, if you think we need to change our instructions or change our ordinance, I just wanted to make that clear. But I think that I just like staff to clamp down and make sure that people are turning in diagrams that give us sufficient information. At the last hearing, when I asked the gentleman the questions about the distances, he couldn't answer them for me. So we were still left without the information.
Right, so, and you're absolutely correct, Madam Vice Mayor,
Thank you.
we can get some more information on here. In some cases, there's a, sort of a follow-on condition to the zoning, and just to use the example today, there needs to be, possibly for this to happen, there would be an egress or egress needed from Estero Boulevard, which would be granted by the county, and we don't know exactly what they're gonna require, so we don't know exactly, how the final layout of the pool will be, blah, 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 but that's
Right.
not an excuse for not having better information. And we'll make that clear to the applicants. Mr. Herron and myself and the staff will get together to discuss that. But at the end of the day, there's nothing stronger than, if the council says to somebody, hey, you haven't provided us with adequate information, you'll have to come back next meeting to really reinforce
Yeah,
that.
but that
We don't want to
forces,
do that. That's
that forces
punitive.
us to be the bad guys.
Oh, no, that's punitive, and we don't want to do that. We'll make it very clear, and we'll ask the person for that information. And, hold back their application from moving forward to council as much as we can. But at some point,
Get
we have
that.
to advance.
I get that. And Carl, thank you for coming in. I didn't know if you'd have anything to add to the discussion.
Bench Community Development. Sometimes we tell the applicant, we do need more information, but we also don't hold them up. If they want to move forward, sometimes we're like, all right.
Could you
well,
let us know that then in your report, that you asked for a better diagram and didn't receive it?
Absolutely,
I'd
absolutely.
appreciate that.
I'm gonna take a position on this, and
Okay.
I think that it does a disservice to everyone. Staff, the applicant, the LPA, and this council, most importantly, to say to an applicant, we're gonna allow you to move forward even though we don't have a complete application package.
Make it mandatory.
So, because that does no one any good. And so my suggestion, and I'll have a conversation with staff, because ultimately staff works for the manager, is that we not do it that way any longer. Either you submit a complete application that can be properly processed, or it gets returned to you, because it's not doing anyone any good getting to this point without the information that's needed being in the package.
And since this one's been continued, when we notify him, could we let him know we need a better diagram for this one as well?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Before you go away, Carl, I have a question now, because this one was kind of interesting, is that the whole thing about the egress into Estero was mentioned, but it wasn't in the plans. So it was not really very clear, this can be a back out egress onto it, et cetera. Well, the point is, so when they want to go through and finally put in, pavers or whatever, and then that front yard, would they have to come back in for another permit and potentially another variance?
So the problem is with these types of situations, because we're not in control of the Estero is sort of chicken and the egg type of situation. The county doesn't want to put too much effort into it until they see what the council is willing to do. So, the applicant kind of gets caught between the two governments saying, I can't tell you what they'll let me do, because they won't tell me what they'll let me do until they see that the council's okay with the idea. So it's kind of that type of situation in this particular case. We try to make sure that, that the concept, and again, the condition would be, let's just say that we did have the hearing, and one of the conditions could be, it can't be a back out. If that's what you want. Then it goes to Lee County and they see if they can get a driveway that accommodates those conditions or not.
Yeah.
But sometimes just be aware, it is a chicken and egg when we're dealing with another entity.
Back
whether
back
it's
to the vice mayor.
FWC or FDP on the beach side or Lee County on the roadside.
It does seem, though, to the vice mayor's point originally, that then all that should be in the plans, at least what they're intending to do. It doesn't mean that they, because they're eventually gonna have to submit something to the county, and we should be able to see what the end plan is.
As I began my comments, I agree with the vice mayor 100%. There should be
Yeah.
better information in the application.
Thank you.
Just one more reason in a long list of reasons why the town should own Estero Boulevard. It's my editorial. Anything else, Vice Mayor?
No, thank you.
Just a couple of things. I've had some citizens come up and some visitors actually, and talk to me about, there's a new business that's, they're open, I don't know if it's open yet, or gonna be opening on San Carlos Boulevard next to the, that would be, now the name just slipped my head, just slipped my name.
Felipe's.
Felipe's, yeah, Felipe's. There's some concern over the name. And I don't know if there's anything that we have in place that we can do. And the last thing I want to do is restrict someone doing their business, but, we come across, we want this to be a family-friendly island, and I'm a little concerned with some of the name, well, that name specifically. But I don't know if there's anything that we can do, or is there something that we can do to, I don't know if you've seen the name, but it's, the last thing you want to see, I'd say it, but you probably don't want to. Go walk by and look at the sign. It's I don't know that it's necessarily family friendly. Let's put it that way.
One of our problems is we already have a place called SOBs.
Well, but,
It would be hard to enforce on one person when we've already allowed it with somebody else.
I don't know that a 10-year-old knows what an acronym SOB is. This is very clear as to, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out what the initials stand for. And again, I'm not saying we need to make them change their name or anything, but it's just something I think if we could take a look at, or if there's something that we could put in place to,
We certainly can take a look. I don't want to speak out of turn. I haven't looked at, but many sign regulations have, limitations that what kind of wording can be used for commercial enterprises. We'll look into that. But firstly, there is certainly some First Amendment implications whenever you
Sure,
get into
sure.
sign regulations.
maybe
We'll
we
look
could-
into it.
Yeah. And then the other thing obviously has been kind of touched on a little bit about the Women's Club this weekend is having their annual Christmas tree event. It's a great opportunity for the local nonprofits to raise some money for their organization. I'm involved with it every year. It's really a fun event. I personally put a tree in every year and the chili cook-off. And if Reed is listening from SOBs, someone needs to take him down. He's 4-year champion. So although we did tie with him 1 year, he seems to have the ticket. So someone to get out there and
He's gonna have to step up your game. That's all there is to it.
well, yeah, you gotta,
Right.
yeah, I've tried every year and I've got as close as tying once, but not that the green jacket would fit me, but it's a very fun event. If you get a chance to come out, it's really helps a lot of the local nonprofits.
Yeah, show up and buy a tree.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
to be certain that the chili cook-off is Saturday night or Friday night?
It's Friday night, I believe.
Okay, but the festival runs all weekend.
Friday and Saturday, yes.
Friday and Saturday.
I think Saturday they'll have, maybe it's Saturday. She's gonna kill me. I don't know if I don't remember it was Friday. It's been a busy week. The Saturday they have also some people out there with their selling their goods and believe it's, I believe it's Saturday that
And
the,
the chili
you can go to the
Chili cook-off's on Saturday,
Saturday after the vendor event.
4:30 to 8 PM.
Oh, yep, see, I'm assuming that I
instructed.
probably
I
know.
just wrote it on my calendar, so.
Perfect.
Anything else?
That is it. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just conclude my remarks by saying that since this is our last meeting before the holidays, before Christmas, I just want to wish everyone in town, all of our residents, visitors, business people, what else I might be leaving out, a very happy and warm Christmas and New Year's. Be mindful of the season and enjoy yourselves. I know all of our Jewish friends had a nice Hanukkah and it's continuing and so forth. But anyhow, everybody have a happy holiday. And if there's
We do have a meeting on Wednesday, right?
we do,
Okay.
but those who just tune in exclusively for this action. Okay, is there anything else for the good of the order before we entertain a motion to adjourn? Or a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Moved and seconded, no discussion, and we are adjourned at